Right here, there's an input mask set up for this field, Robert.
Okay.
So look, the value entry is programmed for the input mask. I've got to add a when I enter it, it wants you to put a 2-digit year.
Right.
Forgot I actually put this in there.
That's
so
all right.
It'll put it in correctly, so I can go 04/06/02 and hit enter, and it doesn't complain. It actually puts the 4-digit date, but my input mask only allows for 2, which is okay.
Well,
And I can hit stop updates here. If I try to go in here now and type, I'm actually hitting the keys right there. It will not let me change any data until I click that start updates.
is there different levels of access as far as access? That's a fun. Is there a permission that people would have? Like, how many people would be utilizing a database in a given company? As far as, you know, because I can say, what if I get mad at you, or you get mad at me, and I want to go in and mess your database up?
Right now, the way this database is set up for one computer.
Okay.
It's set up for one computer. It can sit on somebody's laptop. It can sit on somebody's desktop. We can provide a version that's called a split database, where you put the tables on the server, and you put this interface on everybody else's machine. It's not set up right now to do that, Robert.
Okay.
There are some other security. This is very
So
basic.
it's set up where that there'll be one person inputting data. Period.
Exactly. There'll be one person
great.
putting in data. Like I said, it's a very stripped down, basic database. It's a good starter.
Right.
And if you want to take this to another level and create a new database based on this idea, you at least have a working template to look at on some of the fields that we went through a long process of
years and years
of figuring out what we needed. And everybody's company is different. They may not need to know who was drawn by or who surveyed it.
Yeah, and one suggestion that I have that I know we've done in the past, Renee, in several companies, and that is that involve everybody in the initial input. But when it comes to actual, once you've got your fields agreed upon, as far as data entry, limit that.
Yep.
Limit that to one person that you know has the best interest of the company at heart, and you know is not going to be able to sabotage you. Okay, good.
At the bottom of this form, there is a place where you can add a contact information. Many times when you take a job order in, somebody orders it for this company, the person you make contact with out in the field may be working for somebody else,
right? And
it's subcontracted out to that client. So
right.
There's so many different ways that you can not have the right contact information. So by having this right here, this John Doe right here may not work for the company we're working with. There may be a right-of-way agent working for XYZ oil and gas,
construction company, or a third-party engineering company.
That's right.
So we have ways for you to input.
Yep.
All parties involved in any project, you'll have access to them in this database.
Yep, you'll be able to put multiple contacts for one job. You may have 6 different contacts for this particular order, and you can put them all in, and they'll be associated with that one order.
Well, you know, whether you work in one county or 100 counties, the common thread to keep this database really functional that I've learned, the steel thread that goes through everything, is the project number. So whatever scheme or whatever way that you guys and gals out there have of numbering or naming your projects, you can stick with that. It's irrelevant to us. What's relevant is that project number is associated with anything that has to do with that job.
That's exactly right, Robert. And I think we demonstrated in one of the modules here
Yep.
that this job number right here is going to show up with a project, a GPS data file that we brought in, and we were able to actually join this orders and projects table to that GPS data and bring in who drew the project. All this information that's in here was actually pulled into the mapping system based on that job number.
And that was because the actual points that we read into ArcMap had the project number as one of their attributes. And we show you how to do that, I think, in step 2. But anyways.
Yeah, we here, I know within our organization, Robert, we have a project number that we associate with our field projects or any GPS or field data, our scans.
Right.
We've basically come up with a system that is based on a project number. Everything is tied to that.
All right.
That was an order. We took an order in. Somebody wanted let's go back there. Somebody wanted a job done, and let's go through this real quick. I didn't go through these lists, and you're going to have a project manager, a customer, and a description here. Here's where you remember we were talking about setting up the fields.
Yeah.
Here's the county pull down, and basically have a list of all the counties where this project may have happened. We got some order information, ordered by, physical address, and the more you enter into these fields, the better your database is going to be.
Okay.
I've actually seen it work other places, not even with a survey company. And the biggest problem that organizations have is not entering information to software, into databases, and then they don't have anything to work with later on. They may use it for a year or two and not have much to show for it because the person entering the information failed to add a legal description or failed to add what quad sheet. Information that's relevant to a job or to any kind of project, whether it's survey or not, having the information keyed in is critical.
Right, and then step 5, managing and maintaining. That's one of the things that I really push hard is the accountability and spreading the task and making sure that you have some metric, some way of following through and making sure that these things are done.
Exactly. Here's
Good point.
this order taken by Dennis Bowman. Here's a list of active employees here that we could pick from on who took the order, who created the survey file, and you got your dates here: order date, to be fielded date, being surveyed by, who's maybe the party chief out there, who prepared the job in the office. All these pull downs we're using right here, all the different employees. And right here, this job notes field is fairly large field. You can actually add a paragraph in here if you need to. We've used that a lot.
Right. Anything that's special about that job,
Yep.
or the client, or anything that's unique that the crew or anybody would want to know, that's where you put
Yeah,
it.
and these two fields right here, Robert, the field status and office status, will be the key indicators on whether or not some of these jobs show up in a report.
Okay.
We're going to show some reports, and some of them are going to be based on whether they're both complete and whether they've been billed or followed up. If they're not complete, they'll show up in another report.
Right, and that's one of the things is, you know, as a surveyor, that's one thing, but most of us are also business people, whether we want to be or not, we are, and that's one of the great advantages of this database is not only having a historical legacy data record of everything you've done, but knowing who you have billed, who has paid you, who hasn't paid you. This is really important, and most of us are using 3 or 4 or 5 different programs trying to keep track of all this, and we've learned now that we can use this database, or a more evolved form of it, but a database and ArcMap and the accounting software, all we do to it is give it numbers. We even have the database spitting out invoices, but that's something that we've worked on. This one will not do that. That's been years of development, but I'm just letting you know that there's not, there's, from a business perspective, knowing who you build. I was talking to a surveyor the other day, and he said, you know, I don't even know how much work we've done that we haven't billed yet. And being in business, especially in times right now, here it is 2009, a very tough year for many of us, we need to bill everything we can bill and collect it. So thank you for showing that point, because that's very important.
But here's also the job type. And remember, these are going to be on the Setup Fields button. When you set up those other fields, the job type is going to be one of those little tables you fill out. What we haven't looked at yet is the customers. And we have a customer here, Renee Garcia Inc., which is me, it's just fictional. But here, on this button right here, it says you're about to run a query to modify. And you can say yes. You're just basically going to run a query to pull, and say yes again. Pause. Pause. The customer list is comprised of customers and clients who are put in from the customer input form, Robert.
All right.
And right here, it's another thing that allows you to go and pick a customer instead of trying to type it in.
Right.
These customers or clients may have a really long name. You know them by a certain either name or contact person or code or something. You type it in this customer input form, which I'll show you in a second. It'll come up. It'll be available every time they order a job.
Wow. Yeah, because, you know, most of us, we have, you know, we may have many customers and we may have a few, but we do business with the same clients over and over, so that makes it easy.